Hi there viewers, good evening to you all and welcome to this very first edition of the Prime Hour News for the week over the airwaves of La Télévision du Monde. We begin this newscast today, Monday 26th of August 2019 with this very report, a latest report from the UNICEF, that is the United Nations International Children's Fund, which states that 4,400 schools have been closed down and more than 600,000 pupils are out of school, despite the fact that it is less than a week until the start of the 2019-2020 academic year. The following report expatiates more on UNICEF's latest report. According to the United Nations Children Fund, more than 450,000 people are displaced from the socio-political crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions, 6,000 which are children. 1 week into the start of the 2019-2020 academic year, many pupils risk missing their education for the fourth academic year in the English-speaking regions because of the present troubling hitches in these regions. So many back-to-school campaigns, yet it is presently less than a week to the beginning of the school year and children risk being denied of their right. UNICEF's latest outing took the case study of the young internally displaced girl who expresses her difficulties and her wish to go to school, which has been perturbated by the ongoing crisis.
I like school. I want to learn English, maths, French. Just crying, say, Mommy, I'll go to school, Mom, I'll go to school. Just say the day just come there. My mother have the money, she go and beg money inside, let us to run. That my mother said I'll go to school. I will say that, Mama, thank you very much that she wants to send me to school.
Looking into the different schools and atmosphere so far, another school year risks being a champ again in the Northwest and Southwest regions for the fourth academic year notably. Parents hurt, disturbed, asking questions. What will be the fate of their children in recent years? Meanwhile, moving out of this, we take this this particular image, which is a communique from the Senior Divisional Officer for LeBLM. As a Senior Divisional Officer for LeBLM, Mr. Eta Mbokaya Ashu has banned the transportation of 8mm and 6mm iron rod into his division. This ban is stated in this particular communique, which was signed by the SDO. Months ago, some weapons which could bring down an helicopter and armored car were seized from the firefighters of Red Dragon separatist fighters who were believed to be on a mission. It is believed that these weapons are produced by the rods that enter LeBLM. So according to this communique by the Senior Divisional Officer for LeBLM, iron rods have been banned from entering this particular division. And to this other information, as only a few days left until the beginning of the 2019-2020 academic year, as such, travelers amongst agencies seems to be very congested as so many travelers turn to crowd the place in order to return back to their various towns. The following report with you, Vilin Ama, gives us the atmosphere with regards to the beginning of the school year.
After a long period of holidays, students are busy going to their cities of residence in order to prepare for the 2019-2020 academic school year. While some are eager to see their classmates after a while, others live with a pinch in their hearts. As a result of this, travel agencies and bus stations are always full, especially with students from the kindergarten and the elementary schools who are accompanied by their parents or relatives. As such, getting a ticket at the travel agencies is very tiring, as one would have to be patient while waiting on a long queue in front of the ticket counters. For the transport agencies, arrangements are already being made to ensure that traveling takes place and should be in good conditions. Also, clear instructions were given to the drivers of traveling agencies that they should be cautious and drive carefully because the roads don't queue, but it is them who queue due to their carelessness.
In the western region of the country, the Bafoussam Regional Hospital now has a new director. Professor George Eno Orok took over office from Dr. Gerald Fete Tama. The following report with images supported by our regional correspondent Herbert Williams Kwamo. New director of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital is now in office. Professor George Eno Oro, since his official installation during the weekend on a ceremony which was presided over by the governor of the Western Region, Awafonka Augustine, which marked the official handing over of keys of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital to Professor George Eno Oro by Dr. Gerald Fetsetama, under the supervision of the governor. As highlight, the governor in this ceremony emphasized on the incoming and outgoing directors of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital, a popular ceremony that has seen the presence of great medical family in the Western administrative, judicial, and municipal authorities, and a bed of guests. All of them says goodbye to the former director of the Regional Hospital of Bafoussam and welcomes the one who now holds the reins of the hospital. The common denominator of the various speeches and testimonies was the gratitude of the outgoing director, whose dynamism and vision allowed the modernization and restructuring of the Regional Hospital of Bafoussam, which today is a reference hospital in the Western region and its surrounding. The number one of the Western region invited the new director of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital to continue the action undertaken by the predecessor with focus on fighting on the scam of patients, good organization and cleanliness of the hospital. Dr. Gerald Fesetama, with the little regret to answer the call of fate, the new director counts on the frank collaboration of the staff to carry out his mission.
And after listening to all the speeches, I am aware of the enormous challenges, and I want to take advantage to congratulate my predecessor for a job well done. I only hope that I will have the same collaboration from the personnel, from the community, from the traditional authorities, from the administration, so that we can together face the challenges and uplift and upgrade healthcare in this very prestigious tertiary health facility, to give healthcare a human face, as so much desired by the Minister of Public Health.
Dr. Gerald Fesetama was transferred to the head of Regional Hospital of Marua after presiding over the destinies of Regional Hospital of Bafoussam, passes the direction of his hospital institute to his supervisor, Professor George Eno Oro, who was previously the director of the Boya Regional Hospital and teacher at the University of Bamenda and Boya. And still in the western region of the country, Justin Tagwa has resigned as the chairman of the board of Bambutus FC. This was during a general assembly where his chair was officially given up to Roger Ngula after a year of leading the club. Vidin Ama has the details in the following report with images from our regional correspondent, Ebert Williams Kwamo.
The bells rang for 4 minutes, one for every century since the arrival of the first African slaves in the English-speaking colonies that would become America. Taken from what is now Angola, they were sold for food to the...
In the new administrative team, Eli Foku, Maturin, David Manfu and Pierre Meli now hold the second, third, fourth and fifth positions of vice presidents respectively. According to David Manfu, one of the vice presidents of the new administrative team, the outcome is as a result of long negotiations and extensive consultations between the sons and daughters of the Bambutus department. He says willpower, capacity and availability were the three criteria which guided the selection of the new board members. Dr. Ngula says he was challenged as soon as his name was mentioned by a group of supporters present as the new chairman of the board of Bambutus. Dr. Ngula intends to exploit the strong human potentials of Bambutus FC in order to make a professional club that regularly provides salaries and bonuses to its players and coaches. He further says his biggest plan is to recover the money needed to affiliate the team and to recruit players who are capable of allowing the Mangwa boys to play the leading roles in the next National League One championship. In addition, the board of directors and executive office has been set up as Justin Tangu does not totally stand out from the management team as he was appointed the new general manager and will be assisted by Pierre Temuku and Yaro Kwati as Deputy Director General and Administrative Secretary, respectively. At the end of the meeting, which was chaired by the Mayor of Bambutus in the presence of the representative of Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, a sum of 23,082,500 francs, of which 4,044,500 francs was collected in cash. However, the Mayor of Bambutus called on the new leaders to be transparent in their work and to never lose sight of the team, which is owned by all the sons and daughters of Bambutus.
And now moving you out of the country, dating back to history, the United States is marking the arrival of the first enslaved Africans to the English colony of Virginia 400 years ago. Details with Al Jazeera News.
The bells rang for 4 minutes. One for every century since the arrival of the first African slaves in the English-speaking colonies that would become America. Taken from what is now Angola, they were sold for food to the struggling colonists, the first of hundreds of thousands that would follow, creating history, changing history.
Don't let other people define who we are and who we were, who our ancestors were, because when you read the typical history books, it's their version of history. They do not tell you about the good things that we did. They tell you about our ancestry was all about slavery. And our Africans were not slaves, we were enslaved.
We're here today to pick up those broken pieces and try to heal from the wounds of slavery. Everyone was infected. Slavery was an international trade, and everyone profited. Many people profited from the slave trade, and many people were broken by it.
This is 400 years ago, where my ancestors came across on those boats as what are called venture servants. And I wanted my wife to know a little bit about the history of my people.
Even after the abolition of slavery, African Americans faced open hostility, brutality, murder, efforts to block integration, attempts to stop them voting.
It is calling all of us to heal the wounds of pain.
In recent years, they've seen the rise of white nationalism and overt racism.
There are those who believe that the legacy of what happened 400 years ago has never been fully addressed, that there's still inequality, still discrimination. And until those are fixed, then America will never truly be a united state.
America still has a legal muscle memory towards racialism, towards inequality. And so after 400 years, historians are now telling that truer story, that more accurate story about the true origins of our nation, about this original sin that people talk about.
The waves delivered the 20 and odd slaves as they were described. They would never leave these shores again and would never have imagined 400 years on their lives, their legacy would be remembered by so many people who felt connected. Alan Fisher,
And still out of the country, Israel has carried out air attacks against Iranian-backed groups in Iraq, Syria and Lebanon over the weekend. Al Jazeera News has the details.
Hezbollah is burying its dead in its stronghold in southern Beirut. 2 of its fighters were killed in Israeli airstrikes in neighboring Syria on Sunday night. The Lebanese armed group is promising retaliation. It has told Israel to be ready for a response. Its leader, Hassan Nasrallah, also threatened to shoot down any drone that violates Lebanon's airspace after what he said was an attack by Israeli drones in Hezbollah's area of control in the Lebanese capital hours earlier.
If we remain silent on this breach, it will create a very dangerous road for Lebanon, repeating what is going on in Iraq now.
In Iraq, the Iranian-backed Popular Mobilization Forces are blaming Israel for a series of unexplained attacks on their bases and positions in recent weeks. The latest was on Sunday night, close to Iraq's border with Syria, which killed a number of fighters. U.S. officials and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have hinted at possible Israeli involvement in those strikes. Israel, it seems, has opened a new front.
The Israelis are saying they're ready to open war on 3 fronts, Beirut, Damascus and Baghdad. We can't ignore the political side, however, which are the upcoming Israeli elections.
The Israeli army says its airstrikes in Syria stopped an attack by Iran's Revolutionary Guards. It released surveillance footage of what it said were members of the Guards preparing a drone strike against Israel. Israel has repeatedly hit what it says were Iranian targets in Syria over the years. It wants to prevent Iran from gaining a foothold and influence across the region. But in the past few days, it is believed to have operated in 3 neighboring countries: Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. Netanyahu did say he gave his security forces a free hand to act in many arenas against an enemy state. Hezbollah says the drone attack, which damaged its media office, violated the 2006 ceasefire and changed the rules of engagement. But at the same time, the group is believed to have given Israel a chance not to escalate tensions.
Hezbollah's message is to deter war. Nasrallah is telling the Israelis any war will be costly and we are not alone. So think twice.
Iran promised to support any action Hezbollah takes against Israel, which doesn't seem to be backing down. It is believed to be behind strikes on a position belonging to a Palestinian faction allied to Iran along Lebanon's border with Syria early on Monday. There is a real danger further attacks by either side could escalate to war. Zana Khuder, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
The United Nations says the humanitarian situation and condition for 3 million people in northern Syria is worsening as the forces bomb few hospitals left. Korti, Al Jazeera News.
Abdulhamid Yusuf arrived in Idlib 10 days ago after Syrian government forces captured his hometown Khan Sheikhoun. He is one of the survivors of a chemical attack in the same town in 2017. That killed 25 members of his family, including his wife and their twins. After marrying again, he started over, but after receiving death threats from the regime, he is afraid and doesn't want us to film his wife.
I couldn't even forget the pain. How can I deal with losing my family and my homeland? Each time we say we'll stand up, there is something that breaks us, our hearts.
Either in Turkey or in Europe, Abdulhamid wants a better life for his family.
I'm a living witness of Assad's crimes. I want to tell the world.
With the Turkish border to the north sealed. However, the displaced in northern Syria have nowhere else to go as the fighting intensifies.
Most of these vehicles carry Syrians fleeing from the south of Idlib border. In August, the number on the move had reached at least 70,000. The influx causes a huge traffic jam in the already overloaded city of Idlib, and it takes hours to move just a short distance, especially in the Atma refugee camp.
Every day, there are more of these makeshift shelters under olive trees in Atma, close to the Turkish border. Having been displaced several times, the Havash family from Hama only arrived today.
The landlord just came and told us to move. Shall I pitch my tent on the road? We are displaced, left everything behind. Tell me now, what can we do?
The latest regime operations in northern Hama are putting health facilities under pressure. Hospitals are short of supplies and staff. Humanitarian aid is urgently needed. It's a desperate wait for many in Idlib, including Abdulhamid, wondering whether the war will catch up with them again. Sinem Kösolo, Al Jazeera, Idlib, northwestern Syria.
This, of course, brings us to an end of today's edition of the 6 p.m. Prime Hour News over La Télévision du Monde. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being tuned to the news. Take a rendezvous with the news at 8 p.m. in the French language with Yves Sanjo. Until then, stay tuned to our programs. Have a good evening.